In this section, we will examine the first years of the American Republic and some of the challenges facing the new nation. We will also see the foundations of American politics that will continue into the present day, and learn how Americans were able to discover the key to a successful democracy. The Continental Congress, which functioned as the de facto government throughout the American Revolution, transitioned into the governing body under the Articles of Confederation. Drafted during the latter stages of the war and ratified in 1781, the Articles established a weak central government and a strong alliance of sovereign states. This emphasis on state autonomy limited the national government's authority quite significantly. The inherent weaknesses of the Articles soon became apparent. The central government lacked the critical power to levy taxes, leading to chronic financial instability. Printing money was also outside its purview, further hindering its ability to address economic challenges. In addition, the Articles did little to prevent disputes among the states regarding trade, land ownership, and other vital matters. These unresolved conflicts threatened the fragile unity of the newly formed nation. The Constitutional Convention, initially convened to revise the Articles of Confederation, witnessed a more dramatic shift. James Madison's Virginia Plan, introduced early on, proposed a complete overhaul, creating a stronger central government. This deviated from the original intent of amending the Articles, but ultimately fueled debate and compromise. The resulting document, as Benjamin Franklin acknowledged, wasn't ideal. It represented the best attainable solution at that time. Following its approval by the convention delegates, the Constitution required ratification by individual states for national implementation. The Constitutional Convention, despite resulting in a ratified document, left two critical questions unresolved. These questions, central to the future course of the nation, were deliberately left open due to the inability to reach unanimous agreement. The first question concerned the balance of power between the federal government and individual states. Many delegates championed state sovereignty, believing that states should retain ultimate authority. Others advocated for the supremacy of the federal government. The second question dealt with the permanence of the Union. A significant number of delegates, particularly from southern states, insisted on the right to secede from the Union should it fail to serve their interests. The deliberate ambiguity surrounding these issues reflected a strategic compromise. Had the delegates attempted to definitively resolve them, the Constitution might never have been ratified. This ambiguity set the stage for future political debates and ultimately became a primary factor in the outbreak of the Civil War. We will continue to examine these unresolved questions throughout the course, as they shaped much of American political history. So what did this new Constitution do? We can understand it in a few ways. In this segment, we are going to talk about federalism. In the next, we will explore the structure of the government it creates, what was the intention of the founders, and some reflection on how political reality differed from what the founders originally intended. Federalism is a fundamental principle that establishes a system of dual sovereignty. In simpler terms, there exist two distinct levels of government: the national government and the state governments. This national government, situated in Washington, D.C., coexists with individual state governments like those in California, Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Texas. Recall our previous discussions on the topic of national identity. Citizens primarily identified with their state or colony of origin. A resident of Massachusetts would consider themselves a Massachusetts person, and Massachusetts their country. Similarly, a Pennsylvanian would view Pennsylvania as their primary nation. Essentially, we had 13 distinct, individual states united through an alliance, operating under a central government with limited powers. This central government's function was to address issues beyond the capability of individual states. This concept of shared national identity, evolving alongside strong state loyalty, significantly influenced the founders' approach to federalism. The Constitution, in their vision, served to define and restrict the federal government's authority. This emphasis on limitations reflected a desire to safeguard the autonomy of individual states, which many citizens viewed as their primary political identity. The concept of a supreme central government stems from the Constitution's Supremacy Clause. However, it's important to understand that this supremacy applies only within the federal government's designated areas of jurisdiction. The Supremacy Clause doesn't grant the federal government absolute power. Federal supremacy reigns in matters explicitly delegated to the national government, such as defense, war, foreign relations, and regulating interstate commerce. Conversely, the states retain control over a vast array of issues closer to home, including education, road construction, and local sales taxes. These spheres of influence are outlined, though not always definitively, within the Constitution. As we'll explore further, the lack of absolute specificity in defining these powers can lead to complexities. The United States was established as a federal republic. This signifies a system with two distinct levels of government, each possessing its own defined areas of authority or jurisdictions. The 10th Amendment, enshrined within the Bill of Rights, exemplifies this principle. It asserts that any powers not explicitly delegated to the federal government by the Constitution are reserved for the states or the people thereof. Federalism, as envisioned by the founders, was a novel concept. Unlike traditional nation-states with centralized power structures and subordinate provinces, the United States aimed to function as a cooperative union of individual states. This bears some resemblance to the European Union, where member states retain significant autonomy while collaborating under a central governing body. However, it's crucial to recognize a key distinction. Unlike the European Union, where authority is explicitly defined in its founding document, the American Constitution leaves some room for interpretation regarding the division of powers. This ambiguity, as we'll see, has led to ongoing debates and interpretations surrounding federalism throughout American history. Please proceed to answer the questions in the assignment on Canvas. If you have any questions, you can post them in the open forum discussion or contact the professor using Canvas email.